Hi, Elizabeth Ashley here. Since I started doing this little course about essential oils and their uses, I've had quite a few emails off people saying, we're loving what you're doing. There's a couple of things we're confused about, and the one that comes up quite often is which essential oils can we use in pregnancy, which ones to avoid, and what are the concerns about pregnancy. So I thought, I know that automatically from years and years of use, but I bet that'd be interesting for people. So just thought I'd refer you to a couple of things in the book and discuss it a little bit. I'm on a forum, a Facebook page, where I help ladies who make their own soap. They make these most incredible soaps out of natural ingredients, and they're absolutely beautiful, and they sell them to people. So one of the things that they're concerned about quite often is, what if I sell a soap that's got an oil in and somebody who's pregnant uses it? Well, there's lots of different dimensions to it. The first thing is, actually, there's no recorded incidents ever of somebody actually having a miscarriage because of using essential oils. But as an aromatherapist, we are taught to just be aware, here comes the train, just be aware that if something did happen to the baby and it was unexplained, then they would look for a reason why it had happened. And because of the lack of experimentation, which I'll talk about in a minute, the lack of experimentation on fetuses, then we don't know for sure that it wouldn't cause it. So therefore, legally, you could have quite a bad lawsuit on your hands, couldn't you? Because, grieving mums quite rightly look for scapegoats. They want to understand what's happened, and if there's apart from anything else, there's a lot of information on the internet that says it can cause miscarriage, but the truth is we don't actually know that it can. There's an ethical dilemma, isn't there? What we need is some actual scientific data about how essential oils affect fetuses, but in order to get that, we would have to experiment on pregnant women and therefore put their fetuses at risk. And from a human rights episode, that's never going to happen, and rightly so. If any of you have read any of Robert Tisserand's work, he's got a most amazing book of essential oil safety, and he's got a very interesting section in there about pregnancy, and he makes a valid point in that we don't know how the babies would metabolize essential oils, and in some ways perhaps it's safer for them than it is for mum, because we know that the essential oils will pass through the placenta, but we don't know in an undeformed liver, for example, how that would deal with metabolize the essential oils. We don't know, and so it might be that it has less problems for the baby than it does for mum. What we do know is that many essential oils will tighten and loosen the uterus, for example. We talked about sage in another video that can help you, can start heavy bleeding. Tea tree is a very strong immune booster, and so if you think about it, if you boost the immune system, theoretically the body could go, you know what, that's a foreign body, I don't want it, and disperse it. We don't know for certain if it could happen, but on paper it looks like it could. So that's why we have strong guidelines in place about pregnancy. The chances are, though, if you listen to authorities like Jane Buckle, who is the most fantastic researcher and wonderful nurse, and has done fantastic research about essential oils medically, she says the same as I do, really, that the chances are, if you had the odd bath with a couple of essential oils and they were safe essential oils, then they're not going to cause you any problems. However, I'm a bit of a chicken where it comes to this, because, when I was carrying my kids, I stuck to this, and when my friends come to me and say I've got morning sickness and stuff, I always say the same thing: I don't want anybody using essential oils till after 16 weeks. And I suppose it's a bit like I don't tell anybody until 12 weeks, you know. It's just, let's just be safe. Let's just be safe. It's a delicate little thing. So in my book, you all know the book by now, there is a section about it. So it says all essential oils should be avoided within the first 16 weeks. At the back of the book, there's a recipe by a lady called Sue Mousley, who's a really lovely friend of mine. And she is a midwife and has integrated essential oils into the maternity unit at the Nuneaton Hospital, where amazingly the mums can actually say, can I have essential oils for my labour, and they can get on prescription. She's worked all that out there. So you know, she's a real authority, and she goes to China, Japan, teaching people how to use in pregnancy. She says 14 weeks. So I think potentially she's probably a better person to listen to than me on that. She says 14 weeks, I say 16 weeks, and if it were me, I'd still go 16 weeks, but Sue says 14 weeks. So throughout the pregnancy, avoid the following oils. So angelica, black pepper, clove, cypress, eucalyptus, ginger, helichrysum, marjoram, myrrh, nutmeg, oregano, peppermint, basil, cassia, cinnamon bark, clary sage, lemongrass, rosemary, thyme, vetiver, wintergreen, white fir. And again, you can find them in here. They're on page 113 to 114. And I won't go through all the reasons why, because each one's got different ones, but the chances are it's got they're very strong diuretics, which the doctor wouldn't let you have a diuretic in pregnancy. Same thing. So things like cypress is a diuretic. We don't want to take water from around baby. Things like clary sage, myrrh, rose. You can use those in pregnancy, but only once labour has onset. So you're waiting for the midwife to go, yeah, I know this is the 6th time you've been in, but yes, this is the time, because we've all been there, gone backwards and forwards, haven't we? So when the midwife says, yeah, we're off and running, they're great. Same for jasmine, and you know, can rub those around the tummy, abdomen, and also lower back. And you know what, things like clary sage, really, you could use from about 37 weeks, really, because baby is strong enough. But I'm a big believer that baby's staying there because baby needs to stay there. So don't try and rush him or her on. A bit of an experiment, really. One of my best friends has only recently had a baby, and she's had the biggest baby in the whole world. He'll be 1 in November. Oh, he looks like he's nearly 2 already. He's huge, and he was huge inside, and she was very tired, and she's already got 3 children, and she was very, very, very heavy. So she got to 37 weeks, and she was in slow labour forever and ever, amen. So we gave her some clary sage, and I got to tell you, it didn't start the labour. It didn't. We would have liked it to, but it didn't. But what she did say was when she got into labour, it was like that. Now she has already got 3 grown children, and her husband very kindly said, well, it's like a wizard's sleeve up there, which really made me laugh. But you know, she said, God, it's so easy. Yeah, just the contractions were so effective, and she really felt it was the oils that she'd been using from 37 weeks that had done that. So yeah, just use with caution. Obviously, I think the first things that you're going to want to deal with are, in the first few weeks, you feel sick, don't you? I mean, you just want it to end forever. It's just, oh, please, God, don't let me be sick again. Well, we don't want to be using them topically, but you know, you can use some ginger or some peppermint in a diffuser, or you know, going back to my piece of paper that's got my rose on, you always sniff it, or wear an aroma pendant around your neck, which is just like a little bottle of oil with a cork on. I'll tell you how to make that in my course, by the way. But you can see you're inhaling it. But you know what? A sucker peppermint. Just get a packet of mints, or ginger biscuits or ginger ale, you don't have to be using the essential oils, do you? The plant's properties are in much safer ways. When you're pregnant though, and you get into sort of late second trimester, third trimester, you feel heavy, you feel tired, you feel grumpy, and if you're carrying in August like me, you feel really, really hot. So there are ways of using oils to do that. So for example, the hot thing, I just used a neroli spritzer of neroli flower water, hydrolat, and use that. And I could just remember spraying it all over me. It was so hot. But hydrolats are good. Same rose water, beautiful and cooling. There's no, yes, in terms of cooling oils, just a drop of maybe some spikenard or some peppermint, just in a foot bath. Just get a bowl of water and put your feet in that. You don't need to be absorbing huge amounts, just a small amount will do. Swollen ankles, again, we don't want to be using things like cypress, because it will drain the water out and it's diuretic, so we don't want to do that. But there's ways of massaging the legs. So if you just make your hand into like that sort of W shape and push it upwards, you'll see the fluid moving up. So just gently, things like lavender or chamomile that are soothing, and you're pushing that up, and actually you're bringing it up, right up the thigh, into what's called the lymphatic duct, which is just sort of above your hip really, and you're pushing it to there so that the body can flush it out. So you're pushing like that up the legs, and the best thing to do is go up like that and then move it up, then push it up, and then move it up, and then push it up, and then move it up like that. So that will drain off the legs without having to use any essential oils that are particularly invasive. Tiredness, yeah, a couple of lavender in the bath. Same for restless legs. I mean, I had terribly painful legs when I was carrying decks, and we certainly don't want to be using clary sage for that, which is the best medicine for restless leg syndrome, but when you're pregnant it's just too much. So a bit of lavender in the bath. So just really, really gentle stuff. Use the guide here to check that you're not using anything, but yeah, just what I would do is just watch your concentrations, only use small amounts, so at the maximum maybe 2% dilution, nothing more than that. And yeah, if you don't know what dilution is, I'm doing another video in that later on in the series, so just watch out for dilution. Okay, I hope that's helped. See you on the other side.